Good morning, everyone. Before we begin, I just want to cleanse my space and yours as... Sorry, of course my fireplace just had to kick in right now. It's gonna be loud as heck in the background, I'm sorry. What I have here is just some sage incense just to cleanse the air and the energy and everything going on this morning, because it is currently 8:54 in the morning and it has already been hectic, and I just wanted to do this nice video and just get it out there. And yeah, things have been all over the place, but anyway, let's take a second to bring down all of that chaos and all of that really high energy to a nice, beautiful, humming energy, because I have some things I want to talk about and they are really important, and I feel like I'm a little bit too high strung right now and too overwhelmed internally to really get that out there. So I thought a nice little sage cleanse and a minute of meditation sorry, a minute of meditation would help us get to a nice baseline. There we go. Words. I have just made my coffee. I haven't drank a sip yet, so we'll get through this together. But anyway, let's take a nice second, take a deep breath, wash ourselves with some smoke, and get right into it. I feel like I'm from the Disney Channel. Witch Girl edition, Disney Channel. Okay. Let's take a moment now just to do a nice quiet meditation, and then we will get right into today's video. All right, deep breath. I hear someone has joined us in the background. This here is my familiar Russell. He will be joining us in many of our videos. But anyway, I feel a little bit more grounded now. So let's get in today's video. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna... Russ, come on, put it away. Right, we're just gonna let Russ do his thing, and if he does something inappropriate, I'll just shoot him. But anyway, I'm gonna take my first sip of coffee and get right into it. Oh, so rejuvenating for my soul. Okay, so today's video is actually a glow up, grow up that I wanted to share, because I finally made the big decision to order a new phone last night, because this one has been just giving me so much trouble of just trying to post longer videos or record longer videos, and I just wanted to be able to really put in more effort and drive into making these YouTube videos. So therefore I bit the bullet and ordered myself a new phone, and not the best financial decision right now, but I'm really hoping to go somewhere with this and just be able to, if not, you know, see it as a financial gain, but as a very huge personal growth gain. Because something that I had mentioned in my past videos was that this was something I wanted to start a while ago, but there was a lot of growth that I still had to go through in order to achieve this woman that is sitting before you. And I'm grateful for it. I'm tired. I'm tired of all the obstacles the universe has thrown my way. But honestly, I would not be where I am and who I am without those obstacles. And I am so, so grateful that even though the universe did throw those obstacles at me, it also gave me the tools and helped me recognize that I also had the tools to help myself and get me through any hardship. And it has been a tremendous journey of my little glow up, grow up that I want to share. But I was just looking through this old phone and looked back on some pictures from 2.5 years ago, which is when I'm going to kind of start this journey and explaining. And it is crazy to me what can change in 2.5 years, and without even realizing or taking the time to realize that this is you, and you did this, and like, yes, you had support, and yes, you would not have gotten to where you are without the certain people in your life, but you still did it. You did the hard work, and I'm proud of you because I am proud of me. And yeah, so let's get into it. And yeah, and as I start this grow up, glow up story, I should give you a glimpse into who I was as a person and what I was going through before I started this journey into finding myself and being a strong woman and being sure of myself and being vocal and not taking crap from other people and just, being more sure of who I am and what I want in this lifetime. But I'm trying to think back of when is a good time to start. Let's go January 2020. January 2020, it was right before the pandemic hit, right? So January 2020, I was single because I had just been broken up with by my boyfriend of 6 months, who I sporadically got into a relationship with and moved an hour and a half into his apartment away and went to school to be a PSW. My mental health was not in check. Sorry, my two cats are fighting. Guys, I will throw a slipper at you, and I'll throw the other one at you. Sorry. Violence is not the answer. Anyway, so kind of broke up my seriousness there. I had my mental health. I remember now. I was in a manic state because I had just finished a DBT program that I had been put into after a suicide attempt, and I was in a very, very low and dark place. And when I went to this program, it was a 7-week program. You had one-on-one with a therapist, you had group therapy, you had all these extracurricular activities that you had to do or could do depending on what program you're in. And after the 7 weeks, I was riding on such a high, I thought I was cured. I thought my BBT, so many letters, my borderline personality disorder, I'll just say the full thing. I thought my borderline personality disorder was cured. I thought these 7 weeks did this magical work that I no longer have to do anymore, and that I don't have to work at it anymore. And I was riding such a high that I didn't understand, because for the first time in my life, I felt empowered. I felt good. But that empowerment was fake. It was a fraud. It was the ego. It was my ego trying to be like, yeah, we're okay. Let's go. Let's fucking get back into it and just whatever. And so this very bold Monica was having a very watchful eye taken on by her mother. And my mom and I have had a very, very complicated relationship that I'll delve into another time, but she was keeping a watchful eye on me. Obviously, her child had just attempted suicide 7 weeks prior to starting this program, and now all of a sudden she's 180'd. And obviously, my mom being a healthcare professional, she was like, no, there's something up here. And when I was like, fuck you, Mom, I'm okay, I fucked off to London, Ontario, where I decided to start a new life. And with this very nice guy, had his own boatload of problems, but was not ready to take on what my mental health was, and not any blame on him, because it was me who had to figure that stuff out, but I just didn't know that yet. And I was very angry, and I was hateful, and I was rude, and I was not a nice person. And it was his right to break up with me and kick me out of his apartment. I was not a good person. So that being said, January 2020, I was living in my car with my dog, who is a German Shepherd Husky named Maverick. He was 1.5 at the time, and a pretty decently sized dog, but he was also a sick dog. And so we lived in my car in the month of January while I was still going to school to be a PSW in Fanshawe. And what I would do would be go to the local mall and go to the washrooms and tidy myself up in the morning. And obviously you can get away with a lot more in college with your hair up and sweatpants on. Nobody really needs to know the last time you showered. So at least I could get my teeth brushed and wash my armpits or something. And then I would go to my classes and check in on my dog in between my classes. Thankfully, it was a very mild January, and he was completely okay. I know that sounds awful at the time, but classes were 50 minutes long. It was not that bad. It was really mild, and everything was okay. I was also a pack-a-day smoker at the time. And due to how bad my anxiety was, I would literally go for a smoke in the middle of class. So my teachers found that common, and when I started to do it a little bit more because I was homeless and checking in on my dog in the car, when I started going for a couple more cigarettes throughout class, it wasn't as big of a deal. I did tend to sit somewhere where it wasn't very noticeable and where I was not noticed. So it was a very dark, dark time in my life. And for those that wonder why I opted to stay in my car, was that, one, I didn't know anybody in London. I moved there to be with this guy that now kicked me out. So the closest person that I had to home was an hour and a half away. And that person I'd be returning home to was my mother, who told me not to leave in the first place. So I had a big I told you so coming, and my ego could not take it. And I opted to living in my car with my dog for a month instead of swallowing my pride and my ego and just going home and saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It took me way too long to get that figured through my head. And finally, on February 7th of 2020, I returned home with nothing left and my poor dog in the car, and went to my mom and said, I need to come home. So I got a really good I told you so when I got to my mom's, but she obviously let me back in and did what mothers should do, and allowed me a space to come home and heal. And it might have not been the most loving way, but it's still the way that I knew and expected and was prepared for. Another thing I was prepared for was her to get very, very involved into my love life again. My mom has had a very difficult time with the fact that I have had many relationships, and that was something that I did not understand how prominent it was because of my borderline personality disorder, of how badly I needed to jump from one relationship to another. I did not understand it myself for a very long time. It was something my mom definitely did not understand. And so when I finally came home after living in my car, I was like, okay, I'm ready to not go into the next relationship. I'm ready to just relax and just get my mind right and figure it out, because I have a lot of nasty habits I want to cut. I have a lot of nasty things hanging on to me, and I have a lot of baggage coming along with me. And there is no way in hell that I was in any way ready to start looking for someone new. That's for damn sure. But then along comes John. John is my high school sweetheart. John is my everything. John is now my husband. We got married on October 15th of this past year, or October 15th last month. I mean, like, what day is it today? Oh my God, we've been married for a month and 2 days already. Wow. Sorry, I did not realize how fast time flies and how badly you can dissociate for days and realize that it's 2 days later than you thought it was. Oh shit. And see, no matter how much you work on yourself, you are still bound to have ups and downs. And there's times that I progress so far and I level up, and there's times that I get dragged right down into a really dark place, and that's completely okay. But anyway, let me get back to my story about John. John shaped a lot for me in high school in the sense of relationships. How we met was that our best friends were dating in grade 9, 10. I was in grade 9, he was in grade 10. And because our best friends are dating, we're obviously spending some time together and we're hanging out, and he shows some interest in me, and so we start texting, and I very quickly am infatuated with him. But I am also having my eyes on somebody else at the time, and I was not looking for a relationship with John. Let's say that I was looking for a relationship with someone else. And so John and I were really, really, really good friends for the time that I was in grade 9 and grade 10, and then grade 11 rolled around. In grade 11, we were still really good friends, but obviously puberty and other things were starting to get more entangled, and urges come through, I guess you can say. And when I was about 16 years old, John and I started experimenting, and so we started turning it kind of into a friends with benefits relationship, and it was so low-key. Nobody knew about it. It was so secret, except for my best friend knew, and that was it. And we were so like, ooh, secret, and I just remember that our friendship never got ruined because of it. We started to just, hang out outside of school, and even though we might have mixed other things involved, we never ruined our friendship, and it was so great. John and I became such good friends, and I trusted him so much that I actually lost my virginity to John when I was 17. And I look back on that, and I am dying at the fact that I married the person I lost my virginity to in high school. Knowing all of the things that have happened in between, and if we had just stayed together, what could have been. But I know, and we've had this conversation before, that there's no way in hell that we would have survived if we just stayed together in high school. Like, there's so much growth and so much pain that unfortunately we have gone through, but it was necessary. And so therefore, when he came back into my life in February of 2020, I was caught off guard, to say the least. He messaged me out of a whim in January when I was homeless, and I was in no right mind to respond to him. And he tried again, beginning of February. I had just moved back to my mom's, received a brutal "I told you so," along with "do not date anybody." And so I gave John a very friendly answer, but a very no. Like, I don't know if you are coming around for a certain reason, but no. And it was for the next 2 weeks that we just texted and just talked back and forth. And at the time, he was living an hour and a half away from me. I was commuting to London from my mom's home, which was an hour and a half, to continue going to school and work out there. Hi, Goonie. Come say hi. This is Gooner. This is my husband's familiar. Him and my familiar like to scrap it out sometimes. But I feel it's because my husband and I never fight, so I feel like our cats have to fight. But anyway, I think I just got some cat hair in my mouth. Oh my god. I'm gonna be coughing up my own hairball. Jesus. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so it was on February 19th that he finally coaxed me out for a hangout. And I said hangout because I did not see one way in hell that this was going to be a date. And one, because we were going to go play pool and drink a couple beers. Like, it wasn't date material necessarily. But the first moment I saw John, I knew that this was it. And I was like, fuck. How am I going to explain this to my mother? Ugh, this is going to be brutal. Anyway, John and I spent our first date hangout purging all of the terrible things our lives have done to us in the last however long it was since we had seen each other. And it was so depressing and so sad. And it was one of those things where I literally said to him, I could never love or be with someone as damaged as me. The man's pretty damaged, but in his own way. And we are so grateful for the pain that we have gone through, because oh my god, are we ever capable to be the strongest couple, because we have been through so much and know each other so well and know each other's triggers and uncertainties so well that it would take a malicious moment for me to want to do something that would harm the relationship. It would take so much for me to want to cause pain or hurt the relationship or hinder it any sort of way, because you can't. I love him so much, and that's the way it should be in relationships, where I know every single one of his trigger points and he knows every single one of mine. Never would we ever use them, and never do we ever use them on a daily basis, and we stick to kindness always. Sorry, I'm just realizing that I took 20 minutes to like set the tone here, and I really need to speed it up with my storytelling. I'm so sorry. So when John and I started dating, right after that first date, I was commuting to London, an hour and a half away, to go to school to be a PSW, and working at a group home where I was, when I was working, the sole caretaker of 12 mentally ill adults. And all of them lived there full time, and they all were a variety of ages, the youngest being 33, oldest being 67. And they all had a variety of mental illnesses, but primarily various stages or severities of schizophrenia. And I loved being there. I would clean for them, I would cook for them, I would make sure their medications got taken, we would go outside and smoke together, we would hang out, they would tell me stories, whether they were real or not. There's one gentleman who believed very fully that he was Gandalf, and I loved him so much, and he was such a character, and I loved that life, but it was not a life that was well for me, because once again, I was taking the time to take care of other people before myself, and once again, draining my energy away from myself. When the pandemic hit, I lost my school, I lost my job, and I was living at my mom's with nothing. And at that time, because I was so close to finishing my certificate as a PSW, they were calling for PSWs, ones in school and whatnot. And so I started working right away as a PSW. So to put it into context, this is me of April, beginning of April, I took this picture of 2020. Can you see? Oh, there we go. There we go. Now, I don't recognize that girl in that picture because I am no longer that girl in that picture. Because I look back at that picture and I think about the fear and the anxiety and the worry I had about upsetting somebody, because I had been raised to be extremely respectful to authority, and that to a very toxic point in my life, because I was told to not question, always obey, and if you do X, Y, and Z, you will be successful. So when I started working as a PSW, as an extreme empath, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I loved being around all the cute old people. I didn't care how sick they were. I didn't care how stinky or anything. I loved being a part of helping somebody and being a part of their everyday, especially when the lockdown hit and nobody was allowed to visit their grandparents. My entire family's from Poland. They're going through a lot right now. And I don't have any of them here. I don't have any grandparents here. I don't have any aunts, uncles here. I only have my mom, my dad, and my sister.